Hey guys, it's been a minute. It's been a while. Yeah, I can't even recall how many months it's been ever since I uploaded. But yeah, I just thought I would share this with you. Um, you ever prayed for something and it felt like God just said no? And I mean, you prayed with faith, you fasted, you believed, and still it's like nothing happened. If you've ever felt that way, you're not alone. And maybe, just a maybe, God said it on purpose. You know, I'm privileged to lead a community, and um, I get the opportunity to counsel people too as well. And even just as a father and a husband, I've had moments where, you ask God for something, and I thought it was good and it was even necessary for the time. And the silence was deafening. Or worse, the answer was no. And at first it felt like kind of like a rejection. But later on, I realized it wasn't rejection. It was God's protection or even his redirection. Let me take you to the Bible. Paul, who was one of the greatest men of faith, prayed 3 times for God to remove what he called a thorn in his flesh. And God's answer was, my grace is sufficient for you, and my power is made perfect in weakness, which is 2 Corinthians 12, verse 9. That was literally God saying, nah, not this time. Not because Paul wasn't spiritual enough, or not because God didn't really care, but because God had a bigger purpose. So I think of it, and I realize that some of the greatest blessings in our lives came after God closed a door. Like the job you didn't get, that relationship that didn't work out, that opportunity that probably slipped away. At that time, you felt crushed, but later on, you look back and said, if that had worked out, I wouldn't be where I am today. So sometimes God's no is often setting you up for a greater yes. And his no today could be the reason you're still standing tomorrow. And so don't give up. So if you're watching this and you're wrestling with, say, an unanswered prayer, don't assume God has abandoned you. Sometimes the no is the answer. Sometimes the silence is sort of his protection. Sometimes what feels like a setback is actually a setup for something greater and bigger. And I just want to close and probably leave you with this thought. Trust the no's of God as much as we celebrate his yes, because both of them are actually wrapped and guided by his love. And if this encouraged you, I just thought of sharing this with you. But if it encouraged you, you can share it with someone who might be struggling with an unanswered prayer. And let's keep learning together, how God works in ways we don't understand, and we might not get it all the time. But one thing for sure, we can always trust him. Thank you. Peace out. Bye.